Hi, everyone. Like David said, my name is Abbi Minessale. I am the engagement marketing manager at Signowire and for the FreeSwitch community as well. I work alongside Brian West, who I'm sure most of you know. He's the new head of developer experience for FreeSwitch and Signowire, as well as one of the founders of the FreeSwitch open source project. My job is to foster the community and provide resources for all of you, from developer guides to events and even egg drops. I'm also the giver-outer of prizes here at ClueCon, so I'm sure you all recognize me from that. Thank you. So I went back and I counted, and I have been to 13 ClueCons. And I have been working the event since 2016. So this is my, my 8th time working at ClueCon. But this is my very first talk at ClueCon ever. So thank you. Please do not throw any tomatoes at me. So let's start off with a difficult question. Who here has ever been plagued by spam calls? Yeah, not surprising. I recently found myself in a similar situation. A few months ago, I moved across the country from Wisconsin to the East Coast, to North Carolina, and I needed to book a long-distance mover for the first time ever in my life, and I made a pretty big mistake. I accidentally gave my phone number to a brokerage site, thinking that it was a moving company. Rookie mistake. And within minutes, they had sold my phone number, and I was flooded with calls from movers, some a lot more dubious than others, trying to get me to put down a large deposit for not very great service and made-up moving companies. And while incredibly annoying, these calls did give me a bit of a devious idea. So who here is familiar with Lenny? So for those of you who don't know, Lenny is an open source project designed to torture spammers by playing audio files of a confused old man. I very much recommend watching some of those videos on YouTube. So meet Lenette. Inspired by Lenny, Lenette is a dim-witted AI chatbot that I built with our new APIs at Signowire. And Lenette is looking to move from California to Brooklyn, New York. Something really cool about this is I built her using prompts in plain English, similar to the way you would write a prompt in Midjourney or ChatGPT. So here's the prompt that I used. You can see, like, it says, you're answering calls from moving scammers trying to trick you and steal money from you. Your job is to waste as much time as you can by pretending to be dumb and asking a lot of questions, and tell them stories about your life. So that's the prompt we have. And the goal here was to annoy spam callers for my personal amusement. I expected this to be hilarious, and sometimes it was. So here's one recording from a very impatient mover who thinks that Lenette is the dumbest person on the planet.
Paperwork.
Hello? Hello?
And then,
Hello?
Hello, this is
Hi,
Lenette
is this
from Hotwire Marketing. How can I help you?
Yeah, well, I'm calling because you were looking for some help with your move.
Hi there, how can I assist you?
Did you just hear what I said? I'm calling because you were
Yes, I
looking
heard
for help with your...
How can I assist you?
What? If you heard me, why would you say that?
Moving, right? Yes, that's correct. I'm looking for help with my move.
So you could tell I added some background noise there. The reason for that is so that even if the caller was a bit suspicious of Lenette being a robot, they would have just enough doubt to keep talking. A bit of casual psychological warfare. And all of these calls, you could see when I put it up on the screen, they get summarized, and they all go to a Slack channel called Abbi Bot. So all of Lenette's conversations are transcribed and then summarized so I can see what happened during the call. And Lenette received about 40 calls initially from this prank. And since we first started this, it has more than doubled in the amount of calls that we get. And something really unexpected happened. So while this was intended to be a funny prank, a lot of these calls, surprisingly, were genuine. So of course, plenty of the spammers caught on immediately and just hung up. But a surprising number were actually fooled, and a handful even figured out that Lenette was an AI and continued to talk to her anyways. In one call, one of the movers was on the phone with Lenette for 9 minutes. Yeah. And halfway through the conversation, he even asked her, "Are you an AI?" And she told him, yes, I'm an AI assistant. And he continued talking to her, going through her inventory, room by room. So I'll show you a recording of that.
Mattress covers, whatever we need to keep them safe.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you for explaining that to me. I feel much better about the moving process now. So what's the next step? Do we need to schedule a time for the inventory, or is there anything else we need to do first?
We could do the inventory right now.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for being so accommodating. Let's get started then.
She's
What's
very
the first
polite.
item on the list?
Are you AI?
Yes, I am an AI virtual assistant. Is there anything else I can help you with?
Okay, what else do we have in the kitchen?
Sure, let's get started. In the kitchen, I have a refrigerator, a stove, a microwave, a toaster, a blender, a coffee maker, a set of dishes, a set of silverware.
She has a lot of appliances. We won't listen to all of that. But this got me thinking about the real-world applications on what we can build with AI. So when I moved across the country, I was on the phone with 3 different movers in order to compare quotes. And I had to call each moving company to schedule even more calls with their sales department, and then even more calls with their administrators to schedule times and dates. I had to go through the entire inventory of my 2-bedroom apartment with all 3 of the movers over the phone. And for my fellow ADHDers out there, you know how absolutely torturous of a task that is. I had to spend hours on the phone in order to schedule my move. So in the case of this prank, Lenette is making up all of the furniture that she has. There is no fridge, and there is no apartment. But there is a very real world where I could give her my actual inventory one time and send her to handle all of the tedious phone calls for me. She can even send me a summary of each quote so I could compare them, and then she could schedule my move for me and put it directly into my calendar. And this is what gets me excited about the future, and I'm not alone. According to a Gartner report, data from various conversational AI vendors showed that the volume of interactions handled by conversational agents has increased by as much as 250% in multiple industries. I've been doing research on AI, specifically in the voice communication space, very fitting for ClueCon, and I have some insights I'd love to share with you, a technical audience, from a marketing perspective, plus a few of my own opinions, of which I have many. It may sound obvious, but when we're building products, it's really important to remember who we're building them for. Of course, we should definitely dream big, but we also have to consider who we envision using the things that we're building, how our products can help them, and how this technology will fit into their lives with the least amount of friction. People are slow to change their habits. Even with the most exciting innovations, it takes a while for people to get used to new technology. So it's important to design things for them and not around them. I like to say social media addiction was not built in a day, and neither will AI. So I think it's important to make sure we're using this technology in a way that is accessible. Meta, for example, tried to force us to use their metaverse, and now it has a whopping 36 users a day. And while I have just as many wild guesses and theories on what AI is going to look like in the next 2, 5, and 50 years, I'm going to focus on how we can implement this technology today. So, where can AI be adopted in the context of communications? Here we have a chart of the top patent topics for conversational AI. So number 4 and number 5 are both different variations of voice assistants, and the number 3 most patented is personalization. So based on this data, I imagine voice AI being used for smarter call centers and IVRs that can talk to you like a human would. It can answer basic questions. It can automatically forward you to the right department based on your conversation. Or even an AI agent that can answer customer service calls and open up a ticket for them, or even look up their ticket to give real-time updates. Personalization, it will be able to remember you from the last time you called and update you on your ticket without you even having to ask. Or we could even use this for a more dynamic way to gather customer feedback or polling information in a more personal way. So chatbots currently represent the top use of AI in enterprises, and their adoption rates are expected to almost double over the next 2 to 5 years. And when I say chatbot, I don't mean cleverbot, for those of you who remember that. Well, I think robots who can tell jokes and tell funny anecdotes are genuinely impressive. I believe the key to making a real impact is that this is something that can perform actions, and therefore we can send it to interact with others on our behalf. So we don't necessarily have to be using SignalWire, of course, but if you ask me, I will always highly recommend that you do. I'm a bit biased, but this applies to all facets of AI. So let's take a walkthrough of some of these use cases and see how AI can level up our communications. So of course we have IVRs. And I know everybody in this room is plenty familiar with a traditional IVR. But from a marketing perspective, I can tell you that 40% of contact leaders believe that customers should always have easy or instant access to a live phone agent for all issues. People want multiple ways of communicating to you at all times. They want to be able to access you 24/7. But that's not an easy ask. Having a live agent 24/7 is pricey and time-consuming. The idea of replacing humans with AI is a touchy subject, but in my opinion, it sounds a lot worse than it is. It sounds like a theft of jobs, but I see it as an addition of resources. We're always going to need live agents. As all of you are very, very familiar, the most important component of a good IVR is to have an easy and clear option to talk to a human being. But many small businesses can't afford to hire a dedicated receptionist, and if they do, they certainly are not available to customers 24/7. But an AI agent can be available to help at all hours of the day and can free up employee time so they can focus their efforts on more productive tasks. The AI agent can even send our receptionist summaries of customer conversations so that they can make sure that tasks are being completed and handled properly and escalate them if they're not. Again, with small businesses, they don't have their own dev shops. So their only options are either a bad phone system or something that they got out of the box. With tools like this, with AI tools, that technology that's normal to all of us that we've been playing with for months and months, that's going to be accessible now to people who have not dedicated their lives to telephony, which is a very weird thought. I don't think I've ever met anyone like that. Salons, pizza places, and even one-man dev shops who are launching solo projects can have professional and advanced phone systems and agents answering the phone. The second thing to think about with IVRs are first impressions with customers. So a phone system is the first point of contact when somebody is trying to reach you. Nobody is calling a business just to say hi. People are calling because they need help, which is a vulnerable experience. And making a good impression with them in that moment is a very powerful thing. We talked about bad IVRs at the Coder Games on Monday. Who here has been personally victimized by a bad IVR? Yeah. Maybe you're trying to get support from a company and you end up in an endless loop trying to find the right menu option, only for the robot to tell you it can't help you and sends you back to the main menu. Or no matter how many times you press 0 or how many ways you try to ask it, it just won't send you to a real human. It's an experience everybody can relate to. If that's your first impression, getting frustrated, you're now associating that frustration to that institute. You're now thinking, oh, this business equals bad, makes me angry. And now you're more likely to stop relationships with that institution and even warn others to stay away. 96% of customers say that customer service is important in their choice of loyalty to a brand. And 77% of consumers say that inefficient customer experiences detract from their quality of life, which seems very dramatic to me, but the data does not lie. Improved customer experience can increase company revenue by 10 to 15%, while following a poor customer experience, up to 89% of customers have switched to a competitor. So how can we use AI to improve customer experience? So imagine I am having issues with my X-Wing. So I call an intergalactic mechanic. It is currently noon in Chicago time, but on Tatooine, it's 3 a.m., so nobody is there to answer the phone except for one alien agent who doesn't need to sleep. We can reduce wait times by allowing me to speak with the AI agent instead of a person. So now, instead of being on hold, I'm getting on the phone right away. I already know what I need. So instead of hearing a long list of menu options, waiting for the correct menu, like press 1 for store hours, press 2 for a live agent, blah, 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 I can just tell the agent what I need and speak to it like I would a real human. If it's something simple, the AI can answer my question, like what time does the store open? Or the mechanic. But if it's a more complicated question, the AI agent can collect this data, summarize it, and then send it to a human agent. And then it can perform the action of scheduling a callback, so I don't have to sit there and wait on the phone, which is my personal pet peeve. So now when I get on the phone with a human agent, I don't have to repeat myself because they already know what I need. Our AI agent can even switch languages, for example, based on the input it gets, which increases the accessibility of our communications, so we're not alienating anybody. Now customers are going to remember you for making their lives easier and are more likely to have a positive relationship with your company. The other big use case I see is similar, but I see AI taking off in customer support and contact centers. Around 90% of companies mentioned faster complaint resolution, and over 80% reported increased call volume processing using conversational AI solutions. AI has the power to streamline customer service. Just like our receptionist example, the AI is never going to replace support agents, but they can work together in order to increase efficiency and reduce average handling time. So when a user calls, the agent can solve common issues like, have you tried turning it off and back on again? Which we all know is usually the answer. Usually the most common issue is the answer, and the AI can handle that. It can answer basic questions, and it can look up tickets to check on ticket status. But it can also gather data about the issue the user is having and send those summaries to the support team, which saves both our support team and users time because the agent will already know the issue by the time they get on the phone. And depending on what the problem is, the support team can even start working on the issue to figure out what's wrong and call the customer back with everything figured out. So now they're calling with good news rather than asking for more effort from the caller. We can also use this summary data to remember callers so that our AI remembers them as a user and knows what their issue was. The AI can then update them on issue status without even having to be asked because they remember what you called for last time. They say, oh, I know you're having an issue. This is the status. And if we're really creative, we could even use sentiment analysis to give the support people a heads up on what they're about to get into. I can see that as a product. I personally would call it the Karen detector, but you guys can have that one for free. We could even send these summaries to sales and product teams so that they know the issues that the customers are having without having to be on those calls. Another big one, which brings us full circle, is filtering out spam. Support teams have to pick up every call they get, and it's not hard to believe that most of those calls are garbage. By using an AI agent, they can verify that the user has a real issue and they're not just trying to sell you extended warranties. Now employees don't have to pick up the phone when they don't need to. At SignalWire, we have a robot answering our phones right now. Her name is Sia, and you can ask our support team. Some of them are here. It has already saved them loads of time, simply not talking to people trying to spam us. And if you'd like to talk to Sia, she's actually on the phone in the SignalWire lounge at the booth. If you pick up the phone and say hello, you can talk to her. She's very friendly as well. I also think AI can bring a sense of whimsy to our everyday lives. And it's a fantastic opportunity to make a unique brand impression with your audience. People enjoy talking to the AI, and they have the impulse to ask it silly questions, which I think is wonderful. Something so simple to add makes a huge impression on people, and I think talking to AI over the phone is a really easy way to implement this technology in our everyday lives without any friction. So while we are saving time, we're saving money and other resources, we can't ignore the fact that it's also fun. And at the end of the day, that's what communication is all about. This is also something that can position a company as ahead of the curve. This is a brand new application, so being the first experience of AI over the phone would make a huge impression. This is something that we can implement now. We don't have to wait. So what we can take away from this when we're taking it away from the theoretical and putting it into practice, there are a few ways we can design our AI agents in order to make acclimating to this technology easier for new users. We all study this stuff all day, but this is new for most users, and it really could be a jarring experience if they're not expecting it. The best way to be bad at both communicating and building products is to assume the other person will just figure it out on their own. Worst case scenario, if anyone here has worked retail, you know that a handful of people who call are not the sharpest tools in the shed. So we want to start off by clearly explaining what the situation is and highlighting what the AI is doing to help make their lives easier as a caller. So the AI agent should introduce themselves as an agent. So for example, hi, thank you for calling SignalWire. I'm Sia, your AI assistant. We don't want to disguise the fact that we're using AI because it's inauthentic at worst and can be confusing at best. If the user doesn't know that they're speaking to an AI, they're going to respond the same way that our mover did in that first example. Second, the AI should explain how to communicate with it in order to get the desired result. Please talk to me like you would a regular human being. The user is going to be expecting some sort of menu option or trigger words like they're used to, and they're going to try to figure out the keywords like live agent or pharmacy. Well, the AI can handle getting orders barked at it. You can talk to it like a real human, and users aren't going to know that because they've never experienced it before. Third, the AI should dissolve the user's fear that this is going to be a bad experience. Explain that it's assisting humans, and they're not going to get stuck in an endless loop with a robot. So for example, I can answer some of your questions and hear what you need assistance with, so I can transfer you to a human agent who can help. And of course, fourth, make sure to add some personality and some branding in there. This is my Slimer example. He says, hi, thank you for calling Ghostbusters. I'm Slimer, your AI assistant, and I'm definitely not a ghost. Don't be rude. You can talk to me like you would any other human. If you need something I can't help you with, I will transfer you to a human being, although they aren't as smart as I am. We can be cheeky with this. This is a fun way to communicate. We could also combine these same ideas with SMS, video, even fax, but I'm really focused on voice today. I did have one more example, but I'm running a little bit over, so I'll just close out with this. If you have any use case ideas, even if it's a prank, especially if it's a prank, you can find me on our SignalWire Discord channel. If you're interested in tinkering with the technology that I use to make this, we use SignalWire, and you can get $15 per credit if you use the code CLUE23. I also wanted to invite you all to a SignalWire meetup event that we're having tomorrow. It's at 3:30 tomorrow, or no, tonight. Oh, wow. My crew's waving at me in the back. It's at 3:30 tonight in the same room that we had the casino night in. Just to be very clear, this is not a ClueCon event. That's why it's not on the schedule. It is a SignalWire event, but it's free to attend. And if you saw our bad IVR challenge on Monday, we're bringing that back with a bit of a twist. So if you were interested in participating or watching people build demos, feel free. I have the registration information up so that you can have more information on that. We also have a new community site. It's a brand new effort that we're making. So there's new features being added there every single day. It's signalwire.com/community. And it's a place where all of the SignalWire and FreeSwitch resources and communications are being housed. So everything's still where it is, but it's a place where you can find everything in one go. I'd also love to discuss community efforts with all of you and hear your feedback on what we can do to grow and to improve. So I'm hosting a bit of an informal advisory board. It's really easy to participate. All you have to do is sit with me at lunch, which I'm holding up right now. And we also have Lenette's phone number, but remember, if you call it, I do have access to all of the recordings, and I am not afraid to hold it against you. Pro tip, if you ask her, if you tell her that your moving service uses rocket ships instead of moving trucks, you will not be disappointed. Thank you.
Thank you, Abbi. You successfully brought that in for an on-time landing.
Oh,
so
yes.
Well done.
I was nervous. The clock makes you nervous.
And as we head towards lunch, you get to change roles from presenter to prize giver.
Prize giver outer. Okay, let me
direction.
just shift hats.
Let me remind you that we're going to come back at 1 o'clock. Max is going to be talking about swapping faces for fun and profits, and James Bodie's dangerous demos, where he's still got a few open slots, is going to be starting off at 1:30 with all sorts of excitement there. But Abbi,
Yes.
there's a white ticket that needs drawing here, isn't there?
Yes. And I'll be participating in the dangerous demos. I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. Oh, one. Okay, let's see. 929-749. 929-749 for our developer on the go bag. 929-749. A winner!
There's a real life winner there. Woo!
Just a reminder, at the end of the conference today, in order to celebrate, we're giving away a MacBook Pro. It's engraved. It's one of a kind. It's got ClueCon2023 on there. Almost forgot what year it was.
And show that. You are a winner.
Yes.
And that
We're
is
very proud here at ClueCon to create new winners. Everyone always says, oh, I never win anything. And that's why they come to ClueCon. All right, we have a winner. You're another proud owner of this Developer Go Bag.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Now, Abbi,
Yes.
we've had a quick request. Are you? Do you want to field a question before lunch, or would you
Sure.
like?
I'll answer a
Well, in
question.
that case, do we have a microphone somewhere at the back for a quick question, please? No.
Or I
Okay,
could just
so
repeat
shout,
it.
Daniel.
Okay, so the Turing test was created in 1950.
Oh, yes.
That's what the Turing test is. That's not a question. Yeah, so the Turing test is this question of making a machine that can successfully fool the human. And every year the AI is getting a little bit smarter. Yet a lot of these discussions we've had are based on the idea that the AI will never be as smart. But what happens that seems to be the goal. Like when they're developing these AIs for driving, they're trying to make them safer than a human driver. When they're doing them for the military, they're trying to make them more accurate than a soldier. So when they're constantly pushing themselves to make the AI better than the human in every case. So when they get better than the human, will your feelings about the subject change, about replacing support engineers, for example?
I don't know. Okay, so the question is about what's going to happen when the AI is smart enough is smarter than a human, because I'm sure that's what's going to happen in 10 years. I have a bit of a controversial opinion on that. I think that the AI is going to take over all of the boring things that nobody else wants to do. And right now, and I'm sure it's going to disrupt a lot of things, and people are going to be upset about it. And I could be wrong. Maybe they will replace the support agents, and that's going to be a really tough thing to deal with for a lot of people. But it's also going to create a lot of new jobs as well. Somebody has to program that AI, and then once the AI can program itself, maybe we just get to work on new projects that we've always wanted to. Maybe it's not such a bad thing that we don't have to sit and work support anymore. I know Pam from The Office hated being a receptionist. And while she would enjoy having a job very much, I think that it's just the natural way of things. New jobs will be created. But I think my bigger opinion is that I think we're going to get bored with it. I think right now it's really exciting. Kind of like Evan talked about at the AI roundtable. We were talking about it at lunch. Like when Photoshop was first invented, everyone was worried. They're like, how will we know it's real or not? And it went to a point where we just assume none of it's real. And that might be a little bit nihilistic and maybe a bit dystopian, but it's the world we live in. I think we'll just get used to having AI agents driving our cars. But if it becomes so prevalent that AI is everywhere all the time, then that makes real human interactions even more interesting because it's different. So that's my opinion on that. I'm sure it will disrupt the job market and the economy, and it's going to be a hard thing for all of us to deal with. But I think it'll make people appreciate live interactions that much more because they'll be so disenfranchised with the AI. It'll get boring, I think. That's my opinion.
Well, thank you very much, Abbi, and we're right on time.
Perfect.